I'm a resident of Petersfield and live near the Elizabeth Way roundabout. I'm strongly supportive of improving this corridor, but I'm disappointed at the possible suggestion and recommendation C that this could be kicked into the long grass, or at least that's how I read it. The Elizabeth Way roundabout is an ugly relic of outdated 1960s planning and blights our area of Petersfield. It caters pretty much only for drivers, relegating walking and cycling to an inconvenient, dingy underpass with blind corners, graffiti, a generally unpleasant environment, and inaccessible to some with disabilities. No transport professional would even consider designing such a monstrosity these days. The roundabout and Newmarket Road, without any proper cycle infrastructure, are a huge barrier to mass cycling levels into town from the east. As a result, we see high levels of car use every day. Replacement with a modern, at-grade junction is already agreed council policy in the local plan, which is known as the Eastern Gateway. This area will remain a large, important junction for cars, but it could be done instead as a multi-lane crossroads. I was struck by a photo of an almost identical change at Nottingham's Maid Marian Way done 15 years ago and saw how much better it was, and I've included a link to the photo in my question. I think the consultation saw some misunderstanding. Some people, judging from social media, thought it would be a Dutch roundabout. That's not what the GCP were proposing in your plans. In fact, it would be a Cyclops junction. So had the public actually been shown, as part of the consultation, a clear photo of an ordinary pedestrian and cycle crossing separate from traffic, which is what you're proposing, there would be little appetite for keeping a dingy, indirect, unsafe 1960s underpass. Officers seem to suggest delay due to potential Grafton and Beehive Centre changes, but both of those propose much reduced traffic levels. In other words, the effect on the road environment can only get better, not worse. So this should not be a reason to delay. That seems illogical. The Executive Board a few weeks ago, members wanted the area to reach higher public realm standards. And so the logical thing, therefore, for this area is not to pause, but instead to keep this as a current scheme, to give officers clear instructions to get on with follow-up design work to implement this higher ambition. You've just spent 2 hours wondering how to find a bold solution to Cambridge's transport problems, and I think the consensus seems to be we're not sure. Yet sorting out Newmarket Road is a real scheme you can actually get on with. It seems an obvious thing to sort out. Everyone's been talking about it for decades now. This is on the table and it's feasible. If you can't get on with this, what hope for much more difficult traffic reduction measures? Delay risks the city being left with this ugly legacy of the 60s for another decade or so. So turning back to the agenda, it says to revisit the scheme around the roundabout. So could you please make clear that this should not mean delay, but the work should be accelerated towards an improved design and a clear intent to go ahead? Thank you.
Turning to Martin Lucas-Smith's question, so the points regarding Elizabeth Way roundabout are well understood, and actually we were quite surprised by the sort of the spectrum of views in terms of the consultation. Some people sort of saying that not unexpectedly get rid of it, others, well, actually we really wanted it. I think we clarified the position during the Joint Assembly to say we were not proposing a pause of this scheme. We're proposing the need to revisit the design, working closely with planning and highway colleagues to make sure that we accurately reflect the Beehive and the Grafton considerations. So I'm hoping that's not a delay, but actually what is important is to get it right, I think. And that's what we're trying to suggest in the report. And again, promoting the move to active travel and sustainable travel is a key part of the considerations of that junction, as well as the urban design issues that were raised by the questioner.